The things that we'll be looking at this afternoon, you can join us on WhatsApp with the conversation. I have my guests already seated in the studio. When I come back from this break, I will introduce them, and then you can join in the conversation on WhatsApp as well. We'll have some other experts on Zoom to help us in the discussion. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
Smart, smooth, interactive, and a built-in Android active panel made for modern work and home. For corporate clients and university students, enjoy top-quality 10th generation Toshiba laptops built for performance, power, clarity, and speed, all in one desktop. At Mycom JA Computers, get a laptop for as low as 1,000 Ghana cedis. All products are imported from the USA with a 1-year warranty. Visit Mycom JA Computers today and elevate your tech.
Some movies change the world, and you'll find them elsewhere. Mnet Movies 4 is just in it to change your mood. Great. Yes, I can. They turn an ordinary night into something awesome. Make you laugh louder, smile bigger, and feel like a kid all over again.
Yay! This is gonna be so much fun!
The only thing our movies are seriously serious about is making you happy. All month long. On Mnet Movies 4 for the easy, cheesy, silly, funny, snort laugh classic movies of your...
Right, you welcome back from the break. This is still Good Afternoon Ghana Business Edge. So once it's the afternoon and it's on a Tuesday or a Thursday, of course, you know that we get in, we discuss the data, we discuss the science, we discuss the business of the country. So I've already stated to you our topics for the day. We are looking at the Fitch upgrade to B-. We'll be looking at the minorities' condemnation of the postponement of the 1 cedi per liter levy, and then we'll be looking at the Israeli-Iranian war. Missiles are being fired. How will it impact us? So these are the things we are discussing this afternoon. And I couldn't have any better people than my team of experts this afternoon. So I'll just be playing the role of a host and allowing them to do the analysis for us. First of all is our very own Abdul Jalil Ibrahim, who is a lecturer and an energy analyst, UPSA. Abdul, good afternoon. Good afternoon. I hope you're doing well.
Very well. Very well.
And you have a lot to share with us this afternoon.
Yes, hopefully.
Of course, you're welcome. So we'll have you pretty shortly. And then our very good friend, tax analyst and the executive secretary or the executive director of Revenue Mobilization Africa, Geoffrey Ukansi, is also our guest here in the studio. Geoffrey, it's been a while.
Yeah, I've been around. Thanks
I hope
for having
you're doing
me.
well.
Yes, we're managing.
You say Accra what?
Accra stay by plan.
Accra stay by plan. So you are in. So when
Yes.
we see you.
Yes.
Anyway, so we would have also on Zoom Alhaji Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, who is a technical advisor, Minister of Energy and Green Transition, and the technical lead also for the gas processing plant to implementation committee. And if possible, we'll get Dr. Patrick Assumin, our very own economist also and financial analyst with the University of Ghana, join us on Zoom. Now, before I do the engagement, we want to see how the city is performing against the major foreign currencies as of this morning. And if we have it, we can pull it up. Now, the city is buying for 10 cities to 949 and selling for 10.3052 Ghana cedis. That's as of this morning. The British pound sterling is going for 13.9897 and selling for 14.0047 Ghana cedis. The euro is buying for 11.9234 Ghana cedis and selling for 11.9351 Ghana cedis. That's the average interbank rates used by the commercial banks for transactions at the close of business yesterday, 16th of June, 2025. So that's what's happening this morning. If you are buying the dollar or buying the euro or buying the British pound sterling, these are the prices you are going to get it for. So we are coming straight to the discussion, but just before we do that, let's go around the world, from Ghana here to other parts of the world, and see the news that are making round in the world of business.
First National Bank Ghana Limited has announced that its shareholder First Rand Group has injected an additional $35 million into the bank, further reinforcing the bank's financial position and its long-term commitment to Ghana's economic development. This additional capital injection, which is undergoing regulatory approval and registration processes, comes on the back of a strong Q1 2025 performance, where the bank posted a net profit before tax of 30.68 million Ghana cedis, more than double its earnings for the same period last year, and holds a healthy 20.88% capital adequacy ratio, well above the regulatory requirement. The $35 million will complement the bank's current capital base of 548 million Ghana cedis, which already exceeds the Bank of Ghana's regulatory minimum of 400 million Ghana cedis. The move underscores the bank's ambition to become a more meaningful player in Ghana's financial services sector and support its strategic growth objectives. The Bank of Ghana expects inflation to trend downwards in the coming months because of the tight monetary policy measures being implemented. First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Zakari Mumuni, disclosed this at the Ghana Diaspora Investment Forum in Accra. He said, headline inflation is expected to trend further down towards to the end-year target of 12%, supported by a tight monetary policy stance. Dr. Zakari also highlighted the improved macroeconomic environment that will aid this reduction in the inflation rate in the coming months. The first Deputy Governor disclosed that the remittance inflows have become a critical component of Ghana's forex build-up, and it is expected that the ongoing reforms will tighten the foreign exchange rules regarding remittances to help lower costs. Dr. Zakari Mululu promised that the central bank will continue to promote the development of innovative diaspora-tailored financial solutions and services to facilitate their settlement and investment plans in the country. Omnibisec Bank, one of Ghana's fastest-growing financial services providers, has officially relocated its Osu branch to a more spacious and customer-friendly premises effective Monday, June 2, 2025. The new location is situated directly opposite SAS Jewelry on Osu, Oxford Street, marking a significant step in the bank's commitment to improving service delivery and client experience. Previously located in the same vicinity, the move forms part of Omnibisec Bank's broader strategy to modernize its operations and enhance convenience for its customers. The new branch, housed in a one-story building, features a large seating area designed to accommodate more clients comfortably and efficiently. Branch manager Gifty Edubia confirmed that the relocation is intended to provide an improved banking experience for customers. In our bid to serve our cherished customers better, this relocation is not just a change of address, but an enhancement in our services. The new environment is more welcoming, and with additional staff and improved security, we are prepared to meet our growing customer needs with speed and professionalism, she said. Oil advanced after President Donald Trump called for the evacuation of Tehran as Israel vowed more strikes, keeping the market on edge about a potential escalation that could disrupt crude supply. West Texas Intermediate was above $73 a barrel after climbing as much as 2.7% earlier. Futures swung between gains and losses on Monday in an $8 range before closing lower on signs Iran was seeking to de-escalate the conflict sparked by Israel's attacks on nuclear sites last week. So far, however, Iran's crude infrastructure has been spread, and there are no signs that Tehran is seeking by blocking the Strait of Hormuz. Middle East producers share about a fifth of the world's daily output through the narrow waterway. For now, most of the fallout has been confined.
Right, so you're welcome back from the stories that are making round in the world of business this afternoon. Our discussions have begun already. I said that we are going to look at the Fitch upgrade. We'll look at the 1 cedi litre levy per litre, which the minority is condemning, the postponement of it that the minority says should be cancelled. And then we'll look at the Israeli-Palestinian war and its impact. So, beginning with the Fitch, let me read this to you quickly. It says that Fitch Ratings has upgraded Ghana's long-term foreign currency issuer default rating to B- from restricted default. That's so you can find that on the screen. I'll read that from the screen for you. And it says, so, yes, from restricted defaults, that's the outlook. And the key ratings are that relations with commercial creditors normalized. That's the first point. The upgrade of Ghana's long-term foreign currency IDR to B- from RD reflects Fitch's assessment that Ghana has normalized relations with significant majority of external commercial creditors. Ghana restructured its 13.1 billion USD euro bonds in October 2024. Now, about 2.6 billion USD of non-performing external debt still needs to be restructured. Of this, Fitch considers 700 million US dollars as or to be commercial debt, representing 5% of total external debt, commercial debt initially included in the restructuring perimeter. Ghana is negotiating with these outstanding commercial creditors, and we assess holdout risks as small. So that's the first point, that based on the relations with commercial creditors, which have been normalized, Fitch Ratings assess the holdout risks as small. Point number two is liquidity risks. Fitch says it expects the interest and revenue ratio to remain broadly stable at 26% in 2025 and 2026 from 25% in 2024 and a peak of 48% in 2021. And this risk or this will be driven by a declining stock of debt, which we have seen. We have seen this begun already by the dollar coming down. Already our debt stock is coming down. This will be driven by a declining stock of debt offset by resumption of interest payments on external commercial debt and a step up in coupon payments on DDEP, with the weighted average coupon on the DDEP bonds increasing to 9.1% in 2025 from the 5.4% in 2024. The interest revenue ratio is above the B and the CD medians of 13% and 16% respectively, and is a key constraint on the rating. Falling debt, that's point number 3. Strong nominal GDP growth, fiscal consolidation, remaining debt restructuring, and much larger than anticipated exchange rate appreciation in recent months will contribute to public debt falling to 60% of GDP in 2025 and 2026 from 72% in 2024 and a peak of 93% in 2022 when Ghana announced its intention to default. This compares with our 2026 B median forecast of 51%. Point number 4 is the current account surpluses and reserve accumulation. We forecast, that's Fitch, the current account surplus, CAS, will narrow from a record high of 4.3% of GDP in 2024 to 1.1% in 2026 on our assumption of increased imports driven by economic growth and a projected decline in key export prices. This is a shift from pre-default large deficits and compares favorably with the B median deficit of 3% of GDP in 2026. It will enable Ghana to accumulate reserves of 3.9 months of current external payments in 2026 from 2.6 months in 2024 and 1.6 months in 2022 and against a B median of 4.9 months in 2024. The evolution of gold prices significantly contributed to the CAS in 2024 and will be an important determinant of current account performance. Inflation to decline. We forecast inflation will average 15% in 2025 and 10% in 2026. That will be some good news for us as a country if this happens. We're actually looking and praying and projecting a single-digit inflation here in the country. And if this is coming out of Fitch, I think we must be happy about it. I'll ask my guest what this means for us and what they actually think, looking at the trajectory so far, at least in the last few months, how inflation rate has been, how the Bank of Ghana is managing the MPC rate, and all of these things that are contributing to what we can classify as a macroeconomic indicators, what they make of it. So if Fitch is saying this, I'll come back to the studio pretty shortly and ask them about it. So Fitch is projecting 15% in 2025 and 10% in 2026, down from 23% in 2024, helped by a large cedi appreciation since April 2025. A still tight monetary policy stance and fiscal consolidation. The size of the pass-through of exchange rates appreciation is uncertain, but we believe it will rapidly contribute to a moderation in domestic inflation backed up by lower oil prices and international food prices. We project the Bank of Ghana will start cutting its policy rate in July 2025. And that will also be very good. Resilience. Growth. Real GDP growth has proved resilient throughout the restructuring process at 3.1% in 2023 and 5.7% in 2024. We anticipate growth will remain solid at 4% in 2025 and 4.5% in 2026 on a rebound in agricultural output after a steep decline in cocoa production in recent years and a continued expansion of the industrial and services sectors. Finally, ESG, that's governance. The country has an ESG relevance score, RS, of 5 for both political stability and rights and for the rule of law, institutional and regulatory quality and control of corruption. These scores reflect the high weight that the World Bank governance indicators have in our proprietary sovereign rating model, SRM. Ghana has a medium WBGI ranking at the 50th percentile, reflecting a recent record of peaceful political transitions, a moderate level of rights for participation in the political process, moderate institutional capacity, established rule of law, and a moderate level of corruption. So that's from Fitch. And I think that these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or 7 points which the Fitch bases on to upgrade us are forward-looking indicators for us. Maybe let me begin with you, Dr. Abdul Jibril. I understand that we have Dr. Patrick Asuming online already joining us on Zoom, but let me pick your thoughts on it, what this means for us, being upgraded from restricted default rating to now B minus.
Okay, thank you, and I would like to thank your watchers for joining us this afternoon. So what I would say is that as a developing country, accessing capital outside the country is good. And when, let's say, our rating was sort of C and even junk, we couldn't access the external financing. So for Fitch to sort of upgrade our rating to B minus, I mean, it shows that the sovereign rating of the countries is improving, and our economy as a whole is stabilizing. So, I mean, on that side is good, and we have to all be happy about that. But what I would say is that we have to also look back, I mean, what happened and how we manage even the current upgrade. If, let's say, we are upgraded and we can have access to external credit, doesn't mean we should go and borrow. I think we should take it, I mean, something that will help us in terms of our risk. If, let's say, we are going to raise any bond or any debt, we are going to see the interest on it, being low, which is good for the country in terms of the cost of finance. But I would say the government should hasten slowly to leverage this to raise money because I feel as a country we need to slow down on the commercial financing so that at least we can bring down the debt level to a sustainable level. So for me, I think it's good. But if you look at the release from Fitch, you could see that it's largely driven by the restructuring that the previous government started. And I think the current government has done very well to continue the discussion with the external creditors, and they've been able to meet them and agree on the next steps. So as a country, we should be proud that the current government continued what the previous government started, and that shows that as a country, we are also maturing. We're able to negotiate, putting the larger interest of the economy, at the center stage. So it's very good for us. What I always say is that with regards to the liquidity, if we read carefully the release from Fitch, they still raise an issue of liquidity because they say it's one of the constraints for the B minus rating. So that means we still have to manage the interest and the revenue. How do we service our interest sustainably compared to how much money we are generating as a country? So that would mean that we need to look at that liquidity carefully to ensure that government is able to maximize tax revenue. And especially if you read what they said, that when they start paying the DDEP from, I think, later this year and even next year, the payment in terms of the interest, it was around 5.4 in 2024. So now we're around 9.1. So that would mean that the government has to pay more in terms of interest, and that will feed into our liquidity buffers. So I think the government has to work around to ensure that we have enough liquidity by mobilizing more tax revenue. One thing I also say is that, which is very, very important, I think the rating also looked at the fiscals, which when the finance minister actually read the budget, I was telling someone that I understand because the government is bent on cutting expenditure to sort of cool the economy. But of course, I mean, you always have to choose between spending more money to grow the economy or cutting expenditure to sort of manage other variables of the economy, like inflation and other variables. So if you watch carefully, the government is going to grow the economy lower than even last year. If you look at end of year by December, and even 2025, average around 4.5%. Compared to December, I think it was around over 5%. So if we are going to manage the inflation, we need to also compensate it for economic growth. And I think the government is choosing maybe stability or choosing building the fundamentals over maybe an inflated growth, which I think is good. So hopefully we can see the that's what the inflation will, come down to 10%, which will be very, very good for us. And hopefully we can consolidate on it and grow the economy maybe in subsequent years, maybe after 2 years. So that's my initial comment on that.
So let me do this. Geoffrey, let me go to Dr. Patrick Asuming. I understand that he has to enter the class, but we need some of the bites from him. Then we can come back into the studio to discuss. So kindly indulge me, give me some time. Let me stay with him on almost all the 3 topics, then I'll come back to the studio. Doc, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us. Forgive us, we understand that you have to enter a lecture, but we need your views and thoughts also for the public. Thank you for your service to the nation. But first of all, Fitch has upgraded the country to B-, and it has cited a number of reasons. I'm sure that you have read the reasons, and is this forward-looking for us as a country?
Good afternoon to you and to my co-panelists in the studio, and thanks for having me. I think in the main, this rating upgrade shows that indeed we are headed in the right direction. I think if we look at all the macroeconomic indicators, the progress that we've seen since the days of the DDEP, and in terms of growth, the currency, the inflation rate, the fiscal position, all of them have headed in the right direction. So I think it's a positive thing for the economy that this rating has come. I have to add that it doesn't mean that the work is done. The work remains to be done. There's still a lot of work to be done, because if you look at where we are, in particular on the fiscal side, what has happened is that, the 2025, the new government has brought a very austere budget to try and rein in its expenditure, and then also try and then cut back on, essentially bring the IMF program back on stream, which is good, but it's not a budget that it can't repeat this budget next year, because it has to start implementing its programs. It has to start, move. It can't continue to restrain expenditure the way it has. So it has to work harder to improve the revenue side, and then we see what happens from there. Then you have to think also about the real side of the economy. Most of the things that most of the indicators that drove the upgrade are more or less the financial and the monetary side. The real side of the economy, even though the first quarter growth was much better than expected, we have to understand that there are still weaknesses. You notice that 5 of the 20 subsectors saw a contraction, even though there are some critical sectors that saw an expansion. I think there's still a lot of work to do to make the economy more robust. You've just seen that the fighting that is going on between Iran and Israel is already threatening to derail some of the progress that we've made. So I think there's still a long way to go to build a more resilient economy. But definitely the indicators are headed in the right direction.
But Doc, one of the ways for us as a country is to support startups, SMEs, and access to finance is a big problem. We have the Fitch projecting a decline in inflation rates, which is very good. However, interest rates, they say, will be stable, but still remain around 25, 26, which is still very high.
Well, yes, I think you have to understand that from the central bank's point of view, we haven't, even though inflation has trended down, we are nowhere near our medium-term target. The medium-term target of 6 to 10%, we are not close. So from the central bank's point of view, it feels that it's necessary to keep the interest rate high, even though inflation has been trending down. Don't forget that at some point, the real interest rate has been negative. It's now that inflation is trending down that we are beginning to see positive real interest rate emerge. And from a central bank's point of view, because it appears to put more premium on the rate of inflation, until and unless we get to the medium-term target of 6 to 10, you can see why there's a prediction that the interest rate will stay high. So I think in the meantime, we have to find alternative means of supporting SMEs, rather than just relying on the main banking sector. Whatever government will find alternative means of providing targeted funding at lower cost or lower interest rates, or whatever other programs it will have to undertake. But from where we are and looking at the objective that is set before the central bank, it is clear that they're going to keep the rate high for a long time.
It's almost being politicized. The upgrade from the up to the B- is almost being politicized. The Minister of Finance says on his Facebook page, they assure Ghanaians that this is just the beginning. They are going to make sure that there is a full economic recovery. You have some members of parliament of the NPP saying that, okay, so that's on the screen now. But you have some members of parliament of the NPP who are saying that, no, this is actions taken by the previous government through the domestic debt restructuring and so on and so forth. Doc, what do you think?
Well, I think that, it's clear that obviously in essentially 5 months, the government cannot, do all the things for us to see. We have to understand that we've come from somewhere. So it's obvious that we've come from somewhere. But you cannot discount the role that the current government has played. Don't forget that we ended the year, essentially messing up the IMF program. A lot of the program targets have been taken off track. The fact that there's a new government and the fact that the government has started so well, that has obviously brought confidence. And the fact that the first budget of the government sought to bring us back online or on track in terms of the IMF program, you can't discount that. And then, yes, the previous administration started some of the programs that have brought us here, but I think they didn't help themselves with some of the other things that they did in terms of the spending side. So, for instance, towards the end of the year, we noticed that the government completely spent its budget. So, while you can say that, the foundation was laid, absolutely, the current government has done a lot. The decision to restrain spending in the first year has been very crucial. Of course, there are some other things that have helped. The fact that when there's a change in government, because the last year ended so badly, the last administration ended so badly, that change in itself, that change in direction and the mood has helped. And it's not, even though you say it hasn't implemented a lot of its programs, the signaling effect of the direction where they are taking the economy itself matters. So I think I understand why some members of the previous administration want to take some of the credit, but I think majority of the credit has to go to the current administration.
That's fine. Because you have to go for the lecture, kindly indulge me. Let me ask you 2 major questions, then I can allow you to go. There was the issue about the 1 cedi per litre levy from the government, which has gone through Parliament, gotten presidential assent. It was going to happen. We saw some OMCs and some stakeholders in the transport sector oppose the policy on the pretext that they had not been engaged. Eventually, they were engaged and they were all for it, for the implementation. On the 16th of June, we were expecting it. And then the issue of the Israeli-Palestinian war began. The fear of oil prices rising. So government says they have now postponed it. We don't know when they will bring it back. But the minority says, no, you have to cancel it entirely. Doc, should it be cancelled entirely, given the reasons that the Minister of Energy and government gave for, as the premise for the introduction of this levy?
I think generally, this back and forth, with this levy hasn't helped the government. I think, it doesn't help their cause. First of all, this levy completely came out of nowhere. You pass a budget, and then 2 months on, you hardly bring a levy without much consultation, and then, you make the argument that this is urgent. So I think what Ghanaians will be asking is that, was that really urgent? If the impression was created that if you didn't pass this levy and you don't start collecting, the energy sector, in particular electricity production, was going to suffer to the extent that Dumsor might be back. So you have to ask, what has changed? I know that the circumstances have changed in the sense that there's now an escalation in the Middle East, and there's a potential that prices at the pumps may have to go up even without the levy. But I think, for me, the government should have probably waited and brought all these reforms together with the expected reforms in the VAT, in Ghana's VAT regime.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't sound like the way it came out of the blue, and the way the government is quick and happy to backtrack, just tells you that it doesn't really come out of a sustainable long-term plan. So, well, as it is, I think the government should probably wait and then see when it comes to the mid-year budget. The mid-year budget is about 1.5 months away.
Mm-hmm.
So it should wait and look at all its revenue envelope carefully and begin to see what it can do and what it cannot do. I mean, the issue about the fuel and things, today things are going in our favor, but it's extremely volatile. And I think, we play politics with this for long and it hasn't helped us. So, I think that the government should definitely wait. You shouldn't plan to implement this until after the mid-year budget.
Okay, so for you, we should wait until after the mid-year budget. And finally, there is war, Israel-Palestinian. For us, our concern is on how effective or how integral Iran is in the entire oil spectrum of the world, and how the war is going to impact us, and what we should do as a country to mitigate its effect. What do you think? What should we do as a country?
Well, I think the biggest thing we can do to help ourselves is probably long term rather than short term.
Mm-hmm.
Look, I mean, the war is going on. We are not a party to it. We can't do much. We can only pray that it doesn't escalate. I mean, we have to be worried about lives that are being lost.
Yes.
On either side. But I think from our point of view, in terms of what this means for our economy, well, I mean, the potential is there. The Middle, I usually see it not just as Iran and Israel, but this is a Middle Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
Because, they are related. Yes, they are different, but, these are the potential for the war to escalate to other countries is there.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happens, Middle East account for China, at least a third of the world's supply of oil or so. So I think that it is there. What we can do is to manage our own economy strongly and, in some sense, maybe reduce or make our oil sector more stable by perhaps investing more into the bulk storage, as well as if it's necessary for us to improve our refining capacity. We will help ourselves a lot. If we do that, that will help reduce some of the volatility and the swings, especially if you have storage and you have reserves there. And then we are also doing more of the refinery, because look, that place carries a lot of the refined oil. I think a lot of the route for moving refined oil around or moving crude around goes through that route. And I think this has the potential to cause us a lot of challenges. So from where I sit, I think what the government can do is to, as a matter of urgency, start implementing some of the reforms in the energy sector.
Thank you very much, Prof. So Dr. Patrick Asuming is a lecturer. He's an energy expert, of course, with an economist also, an economist and an analyst with the University of Ghana. Thank you very much for staying with us, and you can now go on with your lecture. We are grateful to you. I'll come back to the studio, and I'll now come to, well, if we get the opportunity, we'll speak to Yusuf Suleimana, who is also an oil and energy expert and does business for the government. He's the head of the technical committee on the gas infrastructure that we want to put up here in the country. But let me come to you, Geoffrey, and go back to Fitch.
Right.
Doc has made some points. Jibril has made some points. as well, as to how forward-looking it is for us as a country. Let me ask you what you think. You are a tax expert, revenue mobilization. How is this going to impact our economy?
Honestly, I must state clearly, I mean, listening to everybody else, you realize, I mean, our credit worthiness is on the table. I'll tell you what, I'm not against borrowing. But with experience over the years, what our governments have done with the borrowed funds, I'm not happy with how they've used the funds they've borrowed. So I'm not tickled by such news. I'm one person that I like to look inwardly. If we're doing all things right, you might need to go and borrow, okay? It's not wrong to borrow. I mean, countries like America, Japan, go and look at their debt stock. Huge debt stock.
But what they use the
money properly
for?
Target the debt. If you borrowed to come and expand cocoa farming in Ghana, and we were moving from, let's say, 1,000 sacks to 10,000 sacks, that's what we are talking about.
But that's the same with taxes. You are a tax expert also.
Yeah, so
when we take the taxes, what do we do with it?
That's the problem you have. If you were using your tax resources judiciously, you might not even
have to borrow.
But on the smarter side, you might even go and borrow to come and accelerate production as you go. You want to, I mean, you are still exporting raw beans. So that could be the reason why you go and borrow to come and expand your production line and then get the value chain expanded. That's very important. This is a credible rating. I mean, the rating house that is actually Fitch is a very credible one. But I'll tell you what, I mean, internally, when you look at the figures and the negotiations ongoing, it's about debt restructuring. And what did we do with that restructuring? More to do with, I mean, I always say more like begging for somebody to forgive your debt. That was high on the agenda for the previous administration and this current administration. So really, if you've gone to borrow, I didn't even see what you used the money for and how it benefited me, and you went to beg for debt forgiveness and you were looking at restructuring. I mean, really, I don't know what to clap around it. But the facts around some of the information they shared was about cutting down our debt stock. I mean, as in looking at not that taste to borrow.
Yes.
This government has actually looked at cutting down on the taste to borrow, which is a credit for them. I mean, building on our reserves has also been another thing. In this whole game, before you go and borrow, what are your reserves? I mean, you realize that these rich countries, when they are borrowing, it's at a very minimal rate.
Yes.
But when the poor countries go to borrow, because of the risk, they are tempted to put high rates on you. So it means that if you had a lot of gold reserves, which this government is looking at building on what the previous administration was doing about building our gold reserves with the Gold Board initiative, I think also checking in the system right now will be issues of cutting down expenditure and then also checking corruption. Corruption, you cannot clap too much because you are not spending more. Yeah. You know, when you are spending more, you are borrowing more. That's the temptation saga. That's where you see people, I mean, showing you unfortunately they are stealing, and I mean, powers. Yeah, that's it. That's where you have the procurement problems.
Yes, exactly.
They are there. They've not changed.
I agree.
I mean, so really, for you to see that they've changed, some of these things on the increase will let you know whether they've changed. You also look at an issue of, I think, our competitiveness on the forex, management has been. I suspect a better management of the black market, which is also going on. I also suspect that this gold board thing and the reserves that came from the previous one is helping us in a way. Illicit financial flow, this gold board thing is also going to check those who are smuggling gold. So now people are going to be trusting to go and sell the gold rather than you are caught and then, to be seized from you. So, I mean, on a quick one, like I've told you, it's too early to clap for ourselves, but it's good. It's like, I mean, your child passes BECE, and it's good. But you wait to see the SSE and the university
why is it that when we are downgraded, we have problems with the ratings agency?
Right.
And usually we tend to give different reasons and the fact that they don't even appreciate our local economics. And so they sit somewhere. And there have been talks about Africa or West Africa or even individual countries having their own rating agencies to be able to rate them. But when we are upgraded, we are happy. I mean, let me pick that from you, then I'll come to Jibril.
I think on the issue of the ratings, like I told you, I am even in the first place, if you were doing all your things right, ratings will only come to complement what you are doing.
That's it.
Look at what we do when the World Bank and the IMF policies come in, when the IMF grants us a loan. The same things that My brother here says that, look, cut down expenditure, properly target your resources.
Yeah.
It's the same things that they come and put on the table for us. Indeed, go and look through, nothing new. They are only going to tell you, apply A, B, C, which you already have.
Which we keep saying here.
From time immemorial. So actually, it's a repetition of what you know already. But when you are going to borrow, you have to be a good boy in color to listen. But these are things you know. So going forward on a very fast close,
yes.
I think, look, fiscal management is important. Increase in production. We need to accelerate production as a country. We need to check our expenditure and corruption. And finally, expand our tax base. Give some support. This problem of removing this one city thing is a good news. But then I look at it from different angles of trying to let industry relax and then avoid layoffs and then give production
I'll
lines
come back to that. That's a major topic. But let me pick your mind on the same question. Right. Why the ratings agencies, when they upgrade us, we're happy. When they downgrade, we now begin to see the urgent need for Africa to produce and do its own.
Yes, I would say, I don't know, I may be wrong, but I feel mostly we fail to think long term. And sometimes we have been overly emotional than to be rational to our problems, right? Because if you're not doing something right and someone points to you that, okay, you are not doing this right, and because of that, I'm going to downgrade you. I mean, if you appreciate that reality, it will make you to think and do things differently. But I just feel like over the years, as Africans, or maybe as Ghana, as my brother said, most of the things that they will tell us, I mean, we know them. And when we're, growing up in even primary school, junior high school, and even secondary school, I mean, they will tell you what are the problems of, agriculture sector in Ghana. I mean, you mentioned it. Up to now, the same problems are still, since the 80s, even 70s, even the time that we were not born. The same problems are there.
The same problems, exactly.
Right?
The same problems.
The same problems are there. So I think we are not looking at things rationally. Sometimes we are being emotional and say, okay, why will they tell us that we are bad? But if you are bad and someone says you are not doing things right, just accept it and come out with a plan to tackle where you have weaknesses. But most of the time, we think short term. I mean, they downgrade you, you are angry, and I mean, you say all things. When they upgrade you, you clap. And you fail to implement the reforms that will get you to be on your own. I mean, if they downgrade you, they are telling you that you are not managing your economy very well. And if they say we know the problems, why we are not working to get those problems fixed? So I just think that we need to look at our nation building mindset. If actually we want to build a nation, it means that we need to think long term. We need to see, okay, in the next 5-10 years, what do we have to do? And we all commit to it, I mean, politically. But I think the political season is also a problem for us. One government will do something, another government will come and do something different. So for me, I think we just have to be true to our problems and assemble the best to come together and solve our problem, then to just find ourselves, touting democracy and we're not able to manage our own economy. That's what I would say.
Okay, thank you very much. So now let me be able to move away from the discussions on the FH and now do the 1 cedi per litre levy. So first of all, what happened was that the Minister of Finance, when on I think the 11th of March, read the budgets on the floor of Parliament, he had the opportunity to cancel what we called some nuisance taxes, including the e-levy, including the betting tax, and then we have the hope of him cancelling the COVID levy either in the mid-year budget or maybe early next year, 2026, when he mounts the floor of Parliament again. A lot of people were happy. Then later on, we saw the need, as he puts it, to introduce a new tax, which is the 1 cedi per litre levy. Lots of reasons were given. First of all, the exchange rate, the cedi is stronger, appreciating against the dollar. Secondly, there is a huge debt in the energy sector that needs to be paid to save Dumso and to have power running. We saw ESLA some years back, and a lot of people complained. And then we thought that it was going to be over. Now, maybe not ESLA, but this is a new levy. Some people came against it. There were others who were against it, not because they didn't want it to happen, but because they felt they were not engaged, the OMCs and a number of them. Then eventually they were engaged. It was postponed from, I think, June 9th to June 16th. And then when it was June 16th, when we were ready to implement it, we heard that it had been suspended again. What the minority in Parliament is saying is that, no, you cannot suspend it. We are calling for a total abolition, a total cancellation of that tax. What is to happen? I have the energy experts here, and I've told you already that today I'm playing the role of only a host. And so I'll have the energy experts talk, and I'll begin again with you. Dr. Abdul Jibril.
Jalil.
Jalil. I've kept saying Jalil Ibrahim. What's in this? I asked Dr. Sumin about it. He raised some concerns. Was it a necessity at the time it was introduced? Couldn't we have waited maybe till the media budget? And was it really urgent? And all of that. I mean, what's your thoughts? And let me remind you that we have Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, also on the line on Zoom. So we'll get to him to speak to all of these issues. But let me pick the thoughts of my two guests here in the studio, then we'll come back to that.
Okay, yes. Honestly, if you look at the indication of the government to introduce this levy, I mean, one will understand why they want to do it, because definitely if you are removing some taxes from the tax handle, that would mean that we are going to have shortage in revenue. And if you have shortage, it's going to affect how you fund your programs. And it's understanding that they have to fill that gap. And secondly, if you look at the energy sector, right, I mean, we all know the challenges in the energy sector in terms of the debt which have been accrued over the years. I mean, $3.1 billion. I mean, that's a lot of money. And once these debts are not paid, we all witness what the IPPs threatened, I mean, to sort of stop producing power. And once they threaten this and they actually take action, it's going to affect the energy availability. So the government thinks, okay, maybe, I mean, there has to be money, because it's about money. So you have to find money to be able to pay these, power producers or even fix the energy sector problems. So then they go for this one Ghana cedi levy. But the question is that if you look at over the years, I mean, if you read, I mean, Ursula, in terms of, I mean, the energy sector levies, I mean, we've had these levies. If you take the 1 liter of petrol that we buy, or any petroleum product, it's around 13% of the price build-up. You may say this is insignificant, right? But this 13%, if you look at the money that the government is able to mobilize from this, it's a lot of money, right? So the government says that, okay, I want to add another 1 Ghana cedis to the existing one. And if the government decides to do that, we all know it's going to affect, inflation. It will affect inflation because petroleum is it's a critical input in production. I mean, there's no way you put a levy on petroleum products and it's not going to increase cost of living. So there's going to increase, cost of living. Inflation will go up and all that. But the question is that, will this actual 1 Ghana cedi solve the energy sector problem? That's the question that we should be, maybe the government, and I agree with Dr.
That's the same point Geoffrey raises, that the monies we get, whether we are borrowing or taxes, does it solve the problem that we are taking the money for?
So that's a critical question, and Dr. Suman also said that maybe there has to be serious engagement to be sure that this money that we are raising, it's not about raising the money. It's one thing about raising the money, another thing about actually putting it to the proper use. If you look at even on the numbers, if you look at the absolute numbers, if we are looking at raising around 5 billion from this levy, let's say 1 year, it cannot actually, by even next year, 2026, it cannot help us to solve the energy sector problem. We'll need like maybe 10 years or 7 or 10 years to be able to repay this. And that means it has to go beyond the election cycle. So that's one. So even the money that we're going to raise, I mean, it's not going to solve the problem. And there are so many factors that will sort of impede the that initiative. Because of, I mean, if you look at oil price, it's very volatile. It's one of the most volatile commodities in the world. So we cannot actually guarantee the volume that we are going to see. And also, if you put a tax on the product, I mean, naturally people will reduce their consumption. We can see it's inelastic demand, but there will still be some sort of demand going down from the petroleum products. That's two. And three, the wastage, right? So if we are going to take this money to pay for liquid, the liquid fuel to power our thermal plants, right? So if the thermal plants, let's say you take this money, you pay for the thermal plants to run, the electricity comes to, GridCo to ECG, and we're not able to see the highest level of efficiency in terms of, ECG, or we don't see the revenue being collected. At the end of the day, I mean, you pay the tax, but the problem will still be there because the money is not being utilized very well. And that's why my brother was saying that it's not about the money, but it's about are we going to see the money actually address our problem? And I think maybe we need to engage further on this. And I understand why the government has to, suspend the implementation. Perhaps maybe they want to engage further to build a consensus around what exactly we want to do and to bring the stakeholders on the table to give the, if we take the money, honestly, if we take the money and actually put it into use and stabilize our energy sector, I'll be very happy, right? But do you have the assurance that once the money is taken, if I buy fuel,
it will do what
it will do the work?
So let me come to you now, Geoffrey. Before I go to Doc on Zoom, the same question and with the same premises. Should we go ahead, or minority said it should be cancelled? Should it be cancelled?
Well, once we've actually suspended it, I think it should stay in the stock right now. Let's leave it there and then move ahead. But like the facts are what my brother has said.
Yes.
Do we owe $3.1 billion?
We do.
Do we need $1.3 billion to run this year?
We do.
Are we sure? Is a question to the finance minister that if you added the 1 cedi component, I mean, you are going to raise that 5.7 billion Ghana cedis locally. Now, the problem we've had as we speak right now is, what have you used the previous ESLA funds that was collected for? If we were to see, you see, sometimes accounting for the thing and the transparency makes it easy. I remember CDD carried out a test, research, and a test of a people's mind proved that about 80% of respondents said they are ready to pay more taxes if they were able to see what you are using the money for.
Yeah.
It should give you an indication. I mean, yes, people are talking, but what decision have government taken? It's a very bold decision. This decision they've taken to actually suspend it is economic. It's a very good economic decision because of their forecasting, seeing that there's a ripple effect that's coming from outside anyway. And then also it's a governance issue. I mean, what was the approach? Was it participatory when we're taking the decision? That's why you saw the oil marketing companies and then other people, the experts, academia, some of us in the CSO, were shocked about just the one time. And ironically, you'll be surprised. This happened with the e-levy. The lack of engagement. You saw the Momo dealers who came out, and people avoided the platform. All these, so you were wondering why. For me, I took a shock because the finance minister did one wonderful thing before reading the budget, when he engaged the market folks. People were actually
and even people
it.
on Twitter, Facebook, and social media.
I saw it as a very good move. So again,
some people felt it had come late, but however, it was still
good. It was important.
It was important.
You need to do it.
No matter what time.
And I love this point you just brought. The last point you just brought.
Yes.
So in the same brain, this automatic one, which was an emergency, that is why you find it difficult to forgive him. Because again, why people were bashing him when we're saying, look, you had just a little time, but you still did it. So this one, when did you plan? Our problem in this country is how we plan our levies and taxes in this country. Poor planning. Because in your projections, you should see all these things coming. So I'll give them a plus for actually seeing the economic impact this one is going to give us, the stakeholder impact. That goodwill that they've gotten from us. How to sustain it will be to suspend this one. Again, the realities are facing us. What are we going to do about it? Look, they want to regulate the tax burden because there's a likelihood if you don't buffer it right now, when the external shocks come in, it might increase the prices.
Yes.
Now, people think just buying the fuel is got to do with the car driving. Some industries are running on this fuel. So automatically, the producer and the owner of the company, the other way around is to cut down labor force. And it will affect production as well.
Yes.
If he was running 6 machines, he will decide to just run 4. Automatically, it means it will affect his output.
Yeah.
Mind you, some of the products they are producing are coming to stop us from importing. So if you are not able to meet the challenge, you are going to be importing more. So this is where the indices is. You look at the other side of it too, again, that it also means their company is shrinking, and you, the same government, so that's where you are hurting yourself, because you're actually shrinking your tax base.
Yes.
So the number of employees go down, you are going to be losing down on the pay as you earn.
Yes.
You are also going to be losing down on the company income tax. So again, this is a very smart move you are doing. It's important that you do this. You are protecting jobs. You are going to be regulating prices on the market, because now production goes high. That means competition in production will mean price going down.
Right.
Now you're getting revenue generation, because when people are paying taxes and companies are paying taxes, you make profit.
Yes.
A quick on the way forward.
Yes, then I can go to. Look, let me go to Alhaji Doctor and come back. So, Alhaji Doctor Yusuf Sulemana is the technical advisor at the Ministry of Energy and the technical lead for the GPPI Implementation Committee. So we'll get him to answer a few questions. Then I'll come back to you for the way forward, and of course for the way forward too. I think I'll just include our last topic, the Israeli-Iranian war, because it has a connection, the same external shocks that we are talking about. So, Alhaji, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you are doing well. First of all, the minority says that with all the reasons that you gave for the introduction of the levy and the things that are happening now, a reason for which you have postponed, you should cancel it.
Yeah, thank you very much, Afre, and good afternoon to you and your cherished listeners and viewers in Ghana and across the globe, and to my co-panelists also. Yeah, indeed, that is normal for opposition to, make such statements. But what I'll say is that, I agree to a large extent, a lot of the points that my colleagues mentioned. Our target is to, we are working assiduously to improve the efficiency within the value chain, in this case, the distribution chain. We are looking at privatizing, getting the private sector participation, especially within the revenue collection arm. Because at the end of the day, we know that these trade chains, generation, distribution, transmission, they are so linked. And so if you don't have efficiency, if there's an inefficiency in one component, the cascading impact on the others are quite dire. So we are very much aware of this. Now, what is the background of this levy? If you notice, there has been some consistency in terms of power fluctuation or erratic power supply, if you notice. And it's all due to the weaknesses that we need in the system that we are working seriously to fix. And plans are underway with the distributors and all the value chain to get all this fixed. But once we are there, you will notice that the government has to cough out a huge amount of money to, buy liquid-based fuels to be able to make up for generation needs of the nation. Other than that, it could be worse than what we have it now. And if you notice, liquid-based fuel, nobody's a fan of that. As an expert, I'm not a fan of that. Because number one, of course, environmental is not something friendly, and it's also quite very expensive, So the government is looking at this way. If assuming, and one thing I'll add is that this particular amount that is being covered from Finance Ministry to buy this liquid-based fuel for this generation, it's not captured in the tariffs. As a matter of fact, if it were to be captured in the tariffs, you will see tariffs skyrocketing to over 50%. And that we cannot handle. Now, we have a sector, I've always advocated that. We have a sector, an holistic energy sector that we are looking at. Where if there is a windfall in one sector, we can, one component of it, we can let it affect, impact the other component. And we have noticed that, with the robust management of the currency, the city appreciating, and then the community also having favorable grounds within the international market. If you notice what the consumer pays at the pump, three things to contribute to that. One, what the international market dictates, how much they sell, how much the community is selling. And number two is the levies and taxes, which nothing is happening to that. And then, of course, the third component of it, apart from the commodity prices, the third component of it is the exchange rate, how the city is performing. These three things will impact what the consumer pays at the pump. And if you notice now, I mean, the pump is a little bit cool to the seller. So what the government did, I mean, they sought to do is like, I mean, the windfall that is coming, instead of reducing the price by 4 cities. Right now, we took it from 17, it came to somewhere 11. You know, we're saying that, okay, if we want to reduce it up to 11, we can make it up to 12. That one city, let's take that aspect and use to cushion whatever shortfall that we have within the power sector. Now, one of the energy sector, I mean, the debt within the energy sector, yes, this is a temporary measure. It's a temporary short-term measure. We know the debt within the energy sector. This levy is not to solve the entirety of the energy sector debt, but it's just this emergency one to cushion so that, I mean, we can keep on be able to get the liquid base fuel until we have sustainable measures. But that is not to say that we are not looking for, I mean, we are not working to increase efficiency within the sector, which somebody mentioned, which I alluded to, which we need to do that. Now, why did we have to, suspend that? As I'm sure it's the next topic that you have to look at. If you look at the market dynamics, I found that this was very interesting move and a quite sensitive part. I mean, the government looking at, understanding the sensibilities of Ghanaians or the populace. Because it was just an abundance of caution. If you notice what is happening within the international scene, I mentioned that 3 things would contribute to what the consumer pays at the pump. Once the exchange rate will be able to do something about that, the taxes will be able to do something about that. The third component of it is very wild. It's a wild variable, which we call the commodity price within the international market. Nobody can control that. And if you notice what is happening within the Middle East, it's something that is serious, it's quite serious, and the potential for it skyrocketing to the levels that is not containable is high. Now, why are we? Why do we take this instantly? If you notice, when the conflict starts, when there was the first attack and then the reprisal attack, the commodity price quickly shot up. And I would say that it shot up to like 8 to 9% on the spot. Now, this shot up wasn't actually as a result of change in fundamentals on the ground. Of course, this was speculative, but that is normal for the market. But for the abundance of caution, I mean, it's better probably we put a hold on this particular one because that would have contributed, to what the consumer would pay at the pump if the levy was to be there. Not contributing that much, but the reduction, it will be like a reduced form of it. So if you notice again in this kind of window, the price has even actually dropped again. If the levy, we will have the levy, what we have meant is that the price wouldn't drop the extent to which it has dropped. So what we're trying to do is that holistically, we're looking at the entire energy sector holistically. Where we have shortfalls within other areas and windfalls within other areas, we should be able to use that to support. And so I'm suspending it. I think it's the right thing at the moment, so that we monitor the market. And in this conflict, what I will mention is that it is not a conflict that everybody is taking it easy. Because if you notice, there is a one choke point that Iran controls, or they have override control over. The potential of them being able to block it or disrupt the free flow of hydrocarbon products through that conduit is high. It has happened before, and then players are looking at this, and the premium is there. That controls about a fifth of what global hydrocarbon product from the Gulf to the Western world. The Gulf controls about 30% of the entire hydrocarbon product that moves to the West. And Iran also transports that. The entire Gulf states, they all transport their hydrocarbon product through this. So summarily what it means is that if there's disruption, and we knock out even 10 million barrels from the market, that's going to be huge. And the market expects it. So looking at all these dynamics and then the certainty, and then the wild nature of this unraveling situations, I think it is better to hold on and monitor the situation and see how it pans out. But I think the thing didn't come from out of the blue. It is just in a way that, the liquid base fuel is not captured in the tariffs, and if you don't do that, to cushion a little bit, it's not going to cover everything, but at least
it will push in a little bit. Once we still monitor the pumps, in fact, it is not going to affect the pump drastically. As a way, it's just the reduction that is going to happen. It's going to reduce up to 4 cities, maybe to reduce up to 3 cities once we monitor the speed. That's simply what has been done. So in that case, monitoring it for now and see how the situation pans out, I think is a logical thing to do at this moment.
Okay. So thank you very much for that. But kindly indulge me. Let me come back to the studio. And unfortunately, I'm told my time is actually up. But let me take a quick break. When I come back, I'll take 1 minute each from my guest, and then we can round up. We'll use that to do the Israeli-Palestinian war.
Whether you're a wholesaler, retailer, or consumer, MNC Logistics and Trading is your trusted partner in minerals and food commodities trading. Experience the difference with MNC Logistics and Trading for your commodities trading. We operate a well-equipped laboratory that smelts and assays gold to ensure transparent, credible, and reliable minerals transactions. Our general food commodity market deals with imports and exports of food products such as rice, sugar, and grains. We pride ourselves on delivering products that meet the highest standards of quality and taste. With our expertise in international trading and logistics, we bridge customers far and wide. Locate us at number 4 Neosai Interfo Avenue, East Legon, Accra. Call us on 030-299-8246 or visit our website www.mnclogisticsandtrading.com. MNC Logistics and Trading, hub of confidence.
I'm a brand manager. Of course, I accept only quality and affordable printed souvenirs for my promotional campaigns.
I'm the head of academic affairs of a very important institution in Ghana. Of course, we only deal with quality, reliable printing companies for our institution's printing materials. I'm talking about appointed time printing.
Appointed Time Printings. We take pride in our extensive print scope that transform your ideas into captivating visual masterpieces. We delve into the core objectives and vision of each print project. Precision printing is at the heart of our printing process as we meet your tight deadlines. Our rigorous inspection, color verification, and overall printing excellence are assured. 20 years of printing excellence. It's always a pleasure working with you to create a vibrant, dazzling printing experience that gives you a masterpiece. Appointed Time Printing, your world of quality and affordable print.
You all come back from the break. You are still watching us live on Business Edge on Metro TV. I'll just give them the floor. Unfortunately, my time is up. And for those of you, too many messages that are coming in, lots of them. Forgive me. Let me begin this one with you, Geoffrey. Reactions to everything that we have discussed, including the Israeli-Palestinian war. 1 minute.
Well, as to the Israeli-Palestinian war, we don't have any control over it. I mean, we don't have.
I mean, the impact and how we will mitigate it.
We actually, externally, we don't have control. Internally, what we can do right now is actually look at stockpiling. I mean, we just have to pile stocks here and make sure that at the end of the day, here in this country, we just have to be doing what is very important is actually to check the smuggling of fuel. You will be surprised. In the face of all these, some people have taken interest, and once the prices are good, they smuggle fuel from this country into other neighboring countries. We need to check all that. I think most importantly, when you come back to this whole problem, we need to focus also what brings us here. My brother mentioned, is it about you just pay off and then we are out of it? No, we will still be in the woods if the things are corruption, the things that like we are not even effectively and efficiently collecting is also a problem. Like my brother said, that they are going to make sure that they are going to bring the private sector in. I was one of the people who met with the government committee. My stick is that, look, the metering and then the collection should be privatized. yes, but not the generation area. We tried it with the water sector, and you know what came out of the Aqua Vitran deal. So that's a no-go
So
area.
if for example, I want a meter in my house, it shouldn't be from the ECG.
No, it should come from a private company, and then they
This is a discussion we should have.
segregate it. I mean, segregate it.
It's not what a lot of people have been talking about. It's something we should have as a full discussion. How
Exactly. And then apportion it, and then the companies. So I can have options. If JLO has his own company, and I believe in them, I'll buy their meter, and I take it from them. And so that's how you can. And then finally, we have to explore energy conservation. How are we educating people to put off? It's not only a matter of the generation and then the payment. I mean, it's about how we conserve the little that we are generating. It's also going to help us a lot. But at the end of the day, my final word is about transparency and accountability on the resources that we are collecting and making it participatory, the process.
Let me come to you, Dr. Abdul Jalil.
Yes. So what I would say is that if you look at Iran and Israel war, if it persists, definitely it's going to affect the global economy, and Ghana will be part. Why? Because Iran is a major oil producer. So I think they do over 3 million barrels every day, which is significant. And if you look at the Persian Gulf, called the Strait of Hormuz, like over 25% of global oil passes through that that route or that Strait of Hormuz. So if they block it, I mean, it's going to, that means oil cannot pass. It will affect us. And oil price will go up. And some are even projecting that it can go as high as $130 per barrel, which will be, I mean, catastrophic for us as an economy. So, of course, that will have no control over that. And what we can do is to, as I said, to always think long term. Ghana produces crude oil. I think we export everything, and we import refined products. I'm not sure it's something that we should, it's not sustainable, right? Yes. If we want to, in terms of energy security. Of course, we have refinery economics that we can also discuss another day, whether, let's say, you have to necessarily set up a refinery. But if you look at what...
we have to?
We have to.
We have the toll?
Yeah.
We have toll.
I mean, toll is there. We can do some retrofitting and bring it back to work. But we have to also look at the petroleum hub, what they are trying to do. The previous government started, and the current government is also trying to push it. I think it's very good because if you look at their program in terms of setting up refinery, gas plants, pipelines, and LNG, it's very good. But we need to see action because I think it's been on the drawing board for a very long time. And hopefully, I think there was some Chinese company that came last 2 years, and we haven't seen a lot of work. So hopefully, if we're able to do those things, we can be energy secured.
It will be okay.
All right, thank you.
Let me come to you now, finally. Alhaji Yusuf, you have 1 minute to all the things that we have discussed, including suggestions about retrofitting, establishing new plants, and so on and so forth. Fuel sufficiency. In 1 minute.
Yeah, so thank you very much. I think that those were excellent points. I wouldn't talk much on Palestine-Israel war because there's not much time, and my brother mentioned that. It's a cheap point. It's the Strait of Hormuz is nothing to joke about, and that's what everybody fears. We hope the war doesn't escalate to that point where there will be disruption in the flow. In fact, a day about 90 ships passes through that conduit. And if there should be disruption, it will be a ripple effect on the prices will be dire. Now, coming back to sustainable solutions, I think we need to look beyond, knee-jerk reactions, short-term measures, and that if you notice what the government is seeking to do, I don't know whether you heard of the big push. What we need to do is to be able to develop ourselves to the extent that once we don't have control over these external, activities, we should be able to develop our internal capabilities to be able to rebuff them. To minimize the impact that will be felt upon us when it does cease. And what is happening is that my recommendation is that what the government is doing already is making plans to invest so much massively into the infrastructure, especially the energy infrastructure. Somebody mentioned refining, that's an excellent one. Petroleum hub is another one, and even the second gas train is another one. And so if you look at even the strategy to do that, if you notice the ADFA, that is the budget allocation from Petroleum Revenue Fund. Now, the government wants to take almost 100% of that into infrastructure. So I believe if you massively develop our infrastructure, especially the energy infrastructure, IES, refineries, gas processing plant, we are going to be self-sufficient internally, so that when these external factors
hit us. We're not going to be impacted that much. Yeah, so the way out is what the government is really, set up to do, push a lot of investment into infrastructure to make sure that we have a resilient energy infrastructure. And if we do that, I think most of these influences, especially external factors, when they do hit, we're going to be shielded, or the impact on us is going to be minimized to the barest minimum possible.
Right, thank you very much. So that is Alhaji Dr. Yusuf Suleimana, Technical Advisor, Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, and also the Technical Advisor on the processing of gas here in the country. And thank you very much, gentlemen, here in the studio as well. Dr. Abdul Jalil Ibrahim is a lecturer and energy analyst at the UPSA, the Executive Director, Revenue Mobilization Africa, and the tax analyst is Geoffrey Okansi, a very good friend. And we had Dr. Patrick Sumin, who is a lecturer at the University of Ghana and also an economist, joining us discussing the topics of Fitch upgrade, the condemnation or the request by the minority of the abolition of the 1 cedi per liter levy, and the Israeli-Palestinian war, its ramifications, and how we can mitigate it as a country. My name is Kwesi Free, and this has been Business Edge. I'm sure we may go back to Parliament to bring you scenes from the vetting of the nominees, judge nominees who are to become judges at the Supreme Court. So stay with Metro TV and have a very good afternoon.
If you want to discharge, I'll stop. He should discharge him. Let him go and have his way. History will record. And one day, they would also be in opposition, and this thing will play to them. What is this?
Please, you have the floor. Proceed to answer the question, minus that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do not know.